I went with a fun Meeseeks jersey this time because I'm not talking about the National Hockey League, so I figure wear a fun jersey because it's not necessarily a fun topic. So we have women who are deciding they're not going to play hockey this year. And right away, there's a whole bunch of people going, that's fine, nobody wanted to watch anyways. Then you're not part of the conversation. If you're not going to support women's sports, you're not a part of the conversation, and it doesn't affect you in the slightest. It doesn't. It has, whether they do or they don't play, has no effect on people who are going to slag their stance. Now, the thing is, I'm trying to, disseminate this using information that's out there and what we know. The idea of creating a league that works, a league that can be profitable, and a league that can pay its players. It's a challenge with women. It is. And I think the women who play the sport know that. Now, in getting ready to do this, I thought, you know what, I should look at the WNBA, Women's National Basketball Association. Because that's a good place to start. Where you have women playing basketball. For basketball, I don't know, from what I've seen, from what I've watched, anything, it's okay. It's basketball. I'm not a fan of basketball. It's 100 to 100 with 5 minutes. I don't know. Call me when there's like 3 minutes left in the game and something happens. That's how I feel about it. So I'm not the right one to talk to about whether or not the women's basketball is good. But the question is this. The WNBA has been around for over 2 decades. It is barely profitable if it's profitable. They have the ESPN deal, which from what I was reading makes them $25 million a year. Players in that league make about $70,000 American every year, which is good. But there are women in that league that are stars in that league who feel they should be paid more because they'll look at the NBA salaries. This is where I will agree with the detractors that for women who play sports, they can't be looking at what the men are getting paid because people will pay ridiculous amounts of money to watch men play sports that won't pay half that amount of money to watch women play. And that's just the way it works. And I don't see that ever changing. And the funny thing is people will say, well, it's sexist. Well, not really. I enjoy women's tennis. I don't watch men's tennis. It's not a sexist thing. It's just I think the game is more interesting because you don't have the overpowering serves as much with the women, and there's more. I find the games are usually closer. I find the parodies usually a little bit better, and there's longer rallies. I enjoy the longer rallies. That to me is more fun. And I've made this argument before, and I'll make it again. The Canadian Football League has a better product than the National Football League. But the National Football League is presented better than any other product on planet Earth. And because it's already got this huge following, the Canadian Football League and the product that it has doesn't break through. And so your best athletes will be in the National Football League, even if the rules and the product in the Canadian Football League are more conducive to actual entertaining football. So that and I watch the NFL, I don't watch the CFL for very much that reason, that I know the best athletes are in the National Football League. And that's a perception, right? Because I'm sure that anybody could come on and say, well, Shannon, actually, in a flat-out 100-meter dash, this CFL player is way faster than that NFL player, and you'd probably be right. But perception means a lot. So where when we come to hockey, it's the perception that makes a difference as well. So the National Hockey League isn't just going to step in and say, oh, okay, yeah, we'll just run a league. Because, again, they'll look at the WNBA and say, that hasn't turned much of a profit in 20 years. It's down to 12 teams. They change arenas regularly, too. So part of the problem with the WNBA is they don't seem to have a plan. So you'll have the Houston Comets win championships and still go under. You'll have the New York Liberty move out of MSG and end up 30 miles away, and their attendance drops by 50%. Like you have a business model that it's already a challenge, And it's made worse by the fact that teams seem to be nomads. They move every year. And you can't be doing that. So the National Hockey League, if they're going to step in, they have to have the arena deals. They have to have a schedule that works. Now, with the WNBA, they schedule their season from May through, I think it's August, so they don't have any overlap with the NBA. You don't have that chance with hockey. If you're going to play hockey, you can't play it during the summer. Your ice is going to be crap. It's going to cost a ton of money to keep those arenas cold and keep that ice on the floor. And it's not going to make money based on that right out of the gate. We had a league in Canada and a national league, which had, I think there were a couple of teams in Canada with the NWHL. I know there are now, but where we're at, attendance for women's hockey is really low. Brian Burke talked about this on Sportsnet a couple of days ago. He likes the product. He says it's a good product. He says if you just walked into the rink and nobody told you that it was women's hockey, you wouldn't really notice a difference. I know. People are going to jump on and go, oh, yeah, I can tell the difference. I know. And yet at the same time, these people will say they don't watch it. So that's weird. I haven't watched that, but here's why it sucks. Okay. Awesome. And again, we've seen at the Olympics that there can be some exciting things. And I know people will say, well, they should allow body contact. This minor thing. It is. It's a minor thing. It is a differential, sure. Do we want to start seeing women who are making $100 a week getting concussions? No. Does it already happen without body contact? Yeah, probably. So we're in a situation where, as Brian Burke said, the league had a good product. He enjoyed it. He was a season ticket holder. And yet he said he could sit in that arena and look around and there'd be maybe 100 people. And he said this is, friends and family of the players. And he said there needs to be, and he got into the whole idea of marketing it and how it needs to be a sustainable model. Because whether we do or we don't support women's hockey, or whether we do or we don't like it, it has to be a business model that works. It has to. It has to be a business model where the owners make money, the players make money, and the fans are present. I think the challenge is going to be this. So you've got, let's say, there's 31 NHL teams, and they decide to have some kind of a partnership with the women's hockey. How many teams are you going to have? I would think no more than 6. To start. And you're just going to go with the major centers and look at maybe building from there. So while we've got 200 plus women that have said we're not playing until we find a sustainable business model, I don't know if the business model that you'd create starting with is going to have more than about 100 jobs. So that's where it gets tricky. Because the biggest issue, and I'm going to go back to the CFL as an example. CFL's making money. They're doing really well. They decide we're going to expand to the States, and it's going to be a big cash cow. We're going to make all kinds of money. We're going to put a team in Vegas. We're going to put a team in Louisiana. We're going to put a team where the NFL doesn't have teams, and we're going to rake in the cash. And they didn't. They didn't because there wasn't a desire in the States for the Canadian Football League product, and it died quickly. And not only that, but it hurt the CFL teams here. It hurt the CFL in general, and it took years for them to overcome the fact that they expanded when they shouldn't have, and they hurt their product, and the public perception of the fact that they had to take Shreveport and Vegas out and other teams out, and they had to go back to, oh, okay, all right, we're just the CFL again. It made them look like they were losers. And not a real league, that they were Bush League. So you've got to watch it. The worst thing that the National Hockey League can do here is come in and say, all right, guys, we're going to pick this up and we're going to put in all the same teams that we're already in, and we're just going to call it the Women's National Hockey League, and we're going to make it work. And everybody gets to keep their jobs. And all 200 plus are going to keep their jobs, and this is going to be a great model going forward. Because if they keep it the way that it was with the 2 leagues, and if they merge them into one, and you've got 12, 13 teams, it's going to fail. And it's going to fail miserably, and it's going to fail quickly. because you're not doing anything to generate interest, and you're not doing anything to generate revenue. So you're just throwing bad money after good. Now, the one thing that needs to be said as well is that the National Hockey League has already been supporting women's hockey on some level. National Hockey League's been very involved. They understand there is potentially money to be made there. Bettman's very, very much aware that you can make some money on women's hockey if it's marketed right. But again, it comes down to marketing. It comes down to creating those stars. And that public perception is always going to be there. There are always going to be people who say, oh, I don't care, it's women's, they suck, they're no good, they're crap. And if any of them want to go out on the ice and race Kendall Coyne Jenner, have at her. I have no problem watching that or recording it with my phone. That would be fine with me. I do understand where people are coming from, that it's not on the same level. And I've seen, I was looking through a lot of WNBA articles and a lot of WNBA players who are upset with they're not getting paid enough, and they look at what the men are making, and the men are making, $150 million and they're making nothing. They can't be looking at the men. And this goes with hockey too. They can't be looking at what men are making. It's not going to happen. There will never be an equal pay. The idea, though, that maybe at some point we can have a league for women that will make enough money that it can pay its players. There, in the article I was reading on women's hockey today, one of the American players, she calculated with her taxes, because of course, it's her job. She's an architect, but her other job is to be a professional hockey player. And she calculated that the price of all of her equipment, her sticks and everything, was more money than what she made from the league. So this is part of the reason why women are going, yeah, we got to stop. Because the amount of money they were spending on equipment, that they were spending on training, they're spending on tickets, whatever else, it's more than what they made. So if I gave you a job and I said, hey, you're going to make X amount of money, and then you've got, just remember, you got to bring your own equipment. Oh, by the way, you're going to have to buy this, and this. And then you look at it and you go, okay, so you're paying me. I actually have to pay you to work for you. Nobody's going to do that. That's not how that works. So that's the only, that's the only caveat here, is that on some level, we're looking at a business model that has failed. Not is failing. This is not a bunch of, entitled. There are women that are saying the wrong thing right now. And I know that it's phrasing a lot of the time, and not in an Archer form either. This isn't one of those phrasing, where Archer giggles. This is they're phrasing it wrong, and they're making themselves look kind of not realistic. Realistically, I think the sport will survive in some form. I don't know when the NHL steps up, and as I said, I don't think the NHL will likely do what some of them think they will. I think it'll be a very, very limited dive, because they don't want to throw a bunch of money into something that's not going to make money back, and that's poor business. And I do believe, and I mean this, I do believe that you can create a product that's going to work. Now, when we get into guys saying, oh, well, if they went out there in bathing suits, yeah, no, come on, no, stop. If you look at, if you want to look at that business model, yeah, beach volleyball works for that factor, right? That's what it sells. And there's the LFL, the now Legends Football League, that was Lingerie Football League, and it's embarrassing. It is, because these are women who really want to play football. A lot of them really want to play football, and that's what they have to play. And even then, it doesn't make money. The LFL had a team here in Abbotsford. It didn't last. It just didn't last. So, again, the whole argument of, well, maybe if they had sex appeal, no, it doesn't work either. Because it's still, you're selling a professional sport. And to me, it just makes the whole thing look like a joke. So you're taking it then, and you're going, all right, here's women playing football, but we'll have them in their underwear, so you want to watch it. No, it doesn't work either. So, it's an uphill climb that women have to face right now. And I think there are lessons to be learned from the WNBA, and I don't think that model works either. So what the NHL has to do, if the NHL steps in at all, is they have to create a brand new idea, which is why, and I'll close with this, what Brian Burke said, and I can see this, he said, this likely doesn't get solved in a week, in a month, it may take over a year. This is one of those things that it's going to take a lot of work and a lot of planning, and it is not going to be resolved quickly. Because if you're going to do it right, you've got to take the time. And I think where the women's leagues that exist have failed, I don't necessarily think due diligence was done before these leagues were started. I think there was somebody somewhere that said, hey, this women's hockey at the Olympics is really popular. We can start a women's league and this is going to be great. And they didn't really think it through. So while I've been accused of being an SJW because I think women having a hockey league is fine or something, and I still think it's fine, I also understand you have to make a profit. And being able to get people excited is going to be tough. Because if the NHL is on and there's a women's game on, people are going to watch the NHL. So even if it's a local women's game and the Canucks are on TV, that's going to be a tough sell. So it's going to require a lot of work. And I think that the heavy lifting that gets done with this, it's going to be very interesting to see whether or not it actually happens. I'm all for the whole equality thing, but again, that kind of has to get shoved aside when it comes to professional sports, because how much money you generate decides how much money you make. Although I will say that I love individual sports, because how much money you make depends on how well you play. That's one thing I love about golf. I love that about tennis. You make the money, you earned, and that's it. And I wish team sports worked that way. I think you'd see players working a heck of a lot harder if you have to earn that money every single shift, every single game, and you don't just get it handed to you. You had a crappy game, but here's your $1 million. There you go. Enjoy that. But play better next time or you'll get another $1 million. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And this is going to be a challenge. This is not going to be easy. And I don't have the answers. If I did, I wouldn't be standing here. I'd be in a boardroom somewhere making a little bit of bank off the fact that I have an answer that other people don't. So there you go. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you again soon.